75 miles per hour that is fast enough to snap power poles in half, tear roofs clean off houses, and flip a semi-truck on the highway. And the Storm Prediction Center just flagged it as the expected wind gust across a corridor from Oklahoma City down through Dallas today. The first time this specific significant wind designation has ever been issued for this region this early in March. For the first time in history, that is the exact phrase forecasters used this morning, the Storm Prediction Center has issued a Level 2 significant hail designation for Texas, which means supercells today are expected to produce hailstones larger than 3.5 inches in diameter, bigger than a softball, capable of punching straight through a car roof like it is made of cardboard. And the number that makes Wednesday just as serious as today, 60 to 80 miles per hour, the straight line wind speed being forecast for a massive squall line sweeping from Cleveland and Pittsburgh all the way down through Memphis and Jackson, Mississippi on Wednesday, meaning more Americans will be in the storm path tomorrow than are in it today. Welcome in. Folks, genuinely glad you're here this morning, because the next few hours are going to be critical for a lot of people in your state, and getting the timing right for your specific city could make a real difference tonight. Stick with me to the 9-minute mark, because there is one city on Wednesday's map, not the one most people are expecting, where an isolated supercell firing out ahead of the main squall line is the exact scenario forecasters are watching most closely. And I will tell you exactly which city it is and why it keeps showing up in every model run. Before we get into the timing, y'all need to understand what is actually driving this thing, because this is not one storm. It is two completely separate systems running at the same time, each one targeting a different part of the country with a different primary weapon. The southern system is a Pacific low that dropped off the Baja coast and has been pumping a continuous fire hose of Gulf moisture north through Texas all week, and the combination of that tropical level moisture with steep upper atmosphere temperature drop-off is what is producing today's softball-sized hail threat. When you get warm, wet air near the surface with rapidly cooling air above it, hailstones grow fast and they grow big. But the northern system is the one that has forecasters genuinely rattled. Picture a massive corkscrew of cold air drilling down from Canada, boring straight into the warm, wet air that has been pooling over Illinois and Indiana all week. And when those two air masses lock together along the warm frontal boundary tonight, the atmosphere does not slowly organize, it snaps. The number that jumped off this morning's models is 8.5, that is the tornado ingredient score near Peoria, Illinois, around 10 p.m. tonight, on a scale where forecasters start getting real nervous at 5. And here is the kicker: readings like that are something you would normally expect to see in late May tornado season, not the first week of March. Right now, a pressure lid is sitting on top of all that heat and moisture in the Midwest. Think of it as a pot of water on the stove with the lid clamped down tight. Everything is building underneath. And once that lid pops open this afternoon, models show it could happen anywhere between 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. All that stored up energy releases in one shot. So here is how the threat splits down in Texas and Oklahoma. We have an enhanced risk level, 3 out of 5, and the headline here is not tornado. It is straight up hail and wind, that historic SIG 2 hail designation, plus the new significant wind hatching, both sitting over the same corridor. Meaning Dallas-Fort Worth and Oklahoma City are looking at softball-sized hail and 75 miles per hour wind gusts potentially at the same time this afternoon. Up in the Midwest, the enhanced risk runs from central Illinois through northwest Indiana, Peoria, Bloomington, Springfield, Chicago's south suburbs, over to Valparaiso and Logansport, back to Quincy, and the primary hazard here is tornadoes. The 10% hatch zone means EF2 plus storms are on the table, which starts at 111 miles per hour and does not stop there. Now, when you see that hatched area on the SPC map, the black outline with the dashes, that is their way of saying strong tornadoes are not just possible. They are specifically expected if supercells develop, and unlike a regular tornado watch that covers a big chunk of the country. The hatched zone is the tight bullseye where EF2 and above is the realistic scenario. Real quick, before the region breakdown, drop your city and state in the comments right now and tell me one word: hail, tornado, wind, or flood. Whichever threat has you most on edge for your zip code today, because that is exactly what shapes tomorrow morning's city-by-city breakdown. Starting in Texas. And I want to be straight with you here because there is one big wild card that changes the whole afternoon picture. There is already some existing storm activity out there this morning. And what that convection does over the next few hours is make or break the discrete supercell window. If it clears east, instability builds rapidly and the afternoon supercell threat is real. If it hangs over DFW and Abilene, it stabilizes things and delays everything. Assuming that morning activity clears out and the latest runs suggest it likely will, discrete supercells are expected to fire around 3 to 4 p.m. near Abilene and just west of Dallas-Fort Worth. And a discrete supercell is the storm type that does the most damage because it operates alone. No competition, running its own rotation before it eventually merges into the main squall line later in the evening. Dallas at 64 to 79 degrees and Fort Worth at 64 to 77 degrees are sitting inside three separate high-end severe weather designations running at the same time: the Hatch tornado zone, the new significant wind hatching, and the historic Sig 2 hail rating. That combination in one metro area is genuinely unusual. And the primary window runs from roughly 4 p.m. all the way through 9 p.m. tonight. Moving north into Oklahoma, OKC at 54 to 72 degrees and Tulsa at 55 to 70 degrees are both on notice for all hazards today: giant hail, 75 miles per hour wind gusts from the new wind hatching, and a tornado cannot be ruled out either. And Wichita. Kansas at 45 to 64 degrees is straight up looking at one of the nastiest wind setups on today's entire map, with gusts that could exceed 70 miles per hour late afternoon. Here is the gut check. Folks, if you are in Oklahoma or Texas and you have anything outside right now, patio furniture, vehicles sitting in the open, yard equipment, get that stuff sorted before noon today. Not at 4 p.m. when the storm is already on the radar. San Antonio at 68 to 84 degrees, elevated winds and moisture all day. Primary storm threat stays north of the metro, but gusty conditions are likely. Austin at 66 to 81 degrees, severe thunderstorms and damaging wind gusts possible this evening, no joke. The Austin corridor is not safe from tonight's activity. Houston at 70 to 82 degrees, watching for a squall line pushing through the metro overnight with damaging gusts and locally heavy rainfall. Now, the Midwest is where the timing question gets genuinely tricky, and y'all need to hear this clearly. The atmospheric lid over Illinois and Indiana could hold until after sunset tonight, which means the tornado-capable storms may not fire until 7, 8, even 9 p.m. And an after-dark tornado event is always the most dangerous kind because most people are already winding down for the night. Illinois is the state drawing the most attention on today's map. And here is the specific reason. Dew points ahead of the warm frontal boundary are running into the upper 60s across the northern half of the state. And I know that sounds like jargon. But what it means in plain English is that the air over the cornfields of central Illinois right now feels like August in Florida, which in early March is just wrong. And it is exactly the fuel behind that 8.5 tornado score near Peoria tonight. Chicago at 39 to 51 degrees sits right on the northern edge of the enhanced risk. The south suburbs and northwest Indiana are already inside the hatch zone, but buckle up for this wild card if the warm front ends up just 30 to 50 miles further north than currently forecast. The highest tornado corridor shifts directly over 9 million people in the Chicago metro, and that is a call nobody can make with confidence yet this morning. The timing spread for Illinois as wide models show supercells could fire as early as 2 to 3 p.m. near Chicago, but the latest high-resolution data pushes that to 7 or 8 p.m., and here is why that matters. Earlier fire means isolated supercells with the full tornado and softball hail environment operating in daylight. Later fire means a fast-moving, organized cluster rolling toward Indiana while most people are already asleep. Peoria, Bloomington, and Springfield are sitting in the prime tornado corridor tonight. Surface-based storms along the warm frontal boundary will have the most rotation energy to work with right here. And the STP reading near Peoria is nearly identical to the atmospheric environment that produced the EF3 that tore through southern Michigan last Friday, less than a week ago. Indiana has a double problem tonight. First window runs late afternoon through evening as the warm front fires storms from Lafayette through Indianapolis toward Fort Wayne. And then brace yourself, because a second round develops around 3 a.m. through the Muncie and Bloomington corridor as the squall line reorganizes overnight, 2 separate tornado windows in the same night. Second one hitting while you are asleep. Indianapolis at 41 to 57 degrees is on red alert sitting inside the hatched EF2+ zone with the primary window running late evening through after midnight. Fort Wayne at 39 to 55 degrees watching for severe storms tonight. And lower Michigan, Detroit at 36 to 50 degrees. And Grand Rapids carry a real nocturnal tornado risk from late Tuesday into early Wednesday morning that is not getting nearly enough attention in other forecasts. Quick comment prompt: drop your city, state, and your biggest concern right now: tornado, hail, wind, or flood. One word, one city. That's it. And if you have not checked your phone emergency alert settings today yet, do it right now while you are still here, before you forget. The hazard getting completely buried under the tornado headlines today is flash flooding, and for folks in the corridor from eastern Texas through Arkansas up to the Ohio Valley. The ground is already saturated from the past week of storms, and another 1 to 3 inches of rain on top of that is a legitimate flood emergency waiting to happen. Nashville at 57 to 73 degrees, both a flash flood risk and a severe storm threat in the same 24-hour window, 2 separate hazards back to back. Louisville at 54 to 70 degrees, damaging wind gusts above 60 miles per hour, plus flood watch possible. Memphis at 61 to 75 degrees, heavy thunderstorms and localized flooding tonight. Little Rock flash flood risk this afternoon. And the rule that never changes: y'all turn around. Do not drown. That one phrase is responsible for saving more lives than any piece of gear you can buy. Mid-video saying this again on purpose, because the things worth knowing are worth repeating. Number 1, this is primarily an after-dark severe weather event, which means your shelter plan and your alert setup need to be locked in before dinner tonight, not at midnight when your phone starts screaming. The overnight window from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Central is when the storm line is organized. Fast moving, and most people are already horizontal. Number 2, non-negotiable if anyone in your household is in a mobile home or manufactured housing tonight and you are inside any of the hatched zones, they need an alternate destination before 3 p.m. today: a neighbor's solid house, a community shelter, a church with a foundation. And number 3, the hatched zone on the map does not care which specific zip code the tornado lands in. So do not let the fact that your address is not directly under the hatching make you complacent. Prep list, no vague advice, just the specific 3 things that matter most tonight. Step 1, right now, phone in hand. Go to settings. Find emergency alerts or wireless emergency alerts. Confirm it is switched on. Volume all the way up. And if you use do not disturb mode at night, either shut it off for tonight or configure it to let emergency alerts break through. Because a tornado warning playing at half volume through a pillow at 1 a.m. and one that blasts at full volume and wakes up the whole house are 2 completely different survival outcomes. Step 2, before 3 p.m. today, walk every person in your household to your shelter spot right now, lowest floor. Interior room, no windows, a center hallway or a bathroom or the closet under the stairs. Do not just point at it. Physically walk there together, because when the power goes out at midnight and the sirens are going, you want everyone moving on muscle memory, not trying to think. Step 3, before sunset, everything on a charger phone, backup battery, flashlight, and if you do not have a battery-powered NOAA weather radio, I kid you not, go grab one today. $20 to $40 at Walmart, Target, or Home Depot, and it is the device that wakes you up at 2 a.m. when cell towers are completely hammered by thousands of simultaneous emergency alerts going out at the same time. Before the city list, one thing I want to say out loud right now: today's warm frontal setup across northern Illinois is nearly identical, forecasters' own words, to what set up over southern Michigan last Friday. And in Union City, Michigan, 53 homes were confirmed destroyed by that EF. 3 Union City High School is still serving meals and taking in displaced families today. and they are being told another significant outbreak is on the way. If you know somebody in today's path who is not watching weather right now, a neighbor who never checks his phone, a parent 2 streets over, a coworker who always brushes this stuff off, send them one text right after this video. Bad storms tonight and overnight. Know where your shelter is. Set your phone alerts to max. That is 15 seconds, and it is the most useful thing you can do in the next hour. All right, city by city. No fluff. Highest risk first. St. Louis, Missouri at 50 to 66 degrees overnight tornado epicenter. Enhanced risk. EF2 plus hatching running over the metro. Primary window after midnight tonight. Kansas City at 46 to 61 degrees tornado and large hail red alert. Evening through overnight, buckle up. KC. Springfield, Illinois, near 80 degrees record warmth in the warm sector bullseye. Right inside the hatched EF2 zone tonight. Peoria and Bloomington prime discrete supercell corridor tonight. STP approaching 8.5 late evening if you live here. Your shelter plan needs to be set before you sit down for dinner. Quincy inside the hatch zone. Rockford warm front wildcard. Watch conditions closely after 6 p.m. Indianapolis at 41 to 57 degrees EF2 plus red alert. One of the 2 most dangerous cities on today's map. Evening through after midnight. Fort Wayne at 39 to 55 degrees severe storms and tornado risk tonight. Lafayette enhanced risk. Tornado and large hail. South Bend and Gary right in the path of storms tracking south of Lake Michigan. Tonight, no joke. The Northwest Indiana corridor is getting slept on in most coverage right now. Hold on before Texas if you are in Illinois or Indiana and you have kids in school today. Check your school district's severe weather policy right now, because afternoon dismissal time could overlap directly with the tornado window. And that is not a situation you want to figure out in a school parking lot with sirens already going off around you. Texas, Dallas at 64 to 79 degrees and Fort Worth at 64 to 77 degrees hatched tornado zone. New significant wind hatching and historic SIG 2 hail rating all running over the same metro simultaneously. That has never happened before today in early March. Plano, Arlington, Irving. Garland all flagged for extreme weather risk. And for San Angelo and Abilene, you are in the primary giant hail zone starting this afternoon. Every vehicle needs to be under cover before 3 p.m. No exceptions. Oklahoma City at 54 to 72 degrees tornado risk. 75 miles per hour wind gusts. Giant hail, all hazards are on the table tonight. Y'all. Tulsa at 55 to 70 degrees strong storms. Damaging winds and hail. Evening through late night. Wichita at 45 to 64 degrees. Straight up one of the nastiest straight-line wind setups on today's map. Gusts exceeding 70 miles per hour. El Paso mostly fine. Just gusty from the approaching system. Columbus, Ohio at 43 to 62 degrees heavy rain and severe thunderstorm risk tonight into early Wednesday. Cincinnati at 46 to 63 degrees increasing storm threat late tonight. Louisville at 54 to 70 degrees damaging winds and flash flood. Risk 2 hazards in one city. One night. Memphis at 61 to 75 degrees severe storms tonight. And then Wednesday's squall line rolling right behind it. 2 rounds in under 24 hours. Folks, Nashville at 57 to 73 degrees. Flash flood risk and storm threat running back to back. Quick gut check before we move on if you live in any of those corridors and you are still on the fence about whether this is serious enough to bother with a shelter plan. Here is the honest bottom line. Last week's EF3 in Michigan was rated only a 2% probability the morning it happened. Today's primary zone is sitting at 10%. Probability does not guarantee safety, but it does tell you which way the dice are loaded. Southeast Birmingham at 61 to 77 degrees, dense morning fog. Secondary storm risk arriving Wednesday evening. Atlanta at 59 to 75 degrees morning fog today.